Welcome to Turin, one of the most beautiful and charming cities in Italy. With a history that dates back to the Roman era, and an artistic and cultural heritage that makes it unforgettable, Turin is a city that will amaze you at every corner. From its monuments to its museums, from its squares to its hills, Turin is a city that will leave you speechless. Founded by the Romans as Augusta Taurinorum, Turin had a crucial role in the history of Italy, being the first capital of Italy, after the unification, in 1861. This led to the creation of a vast collection of monuments, palaces, and museums, which testify to the importance of the city over the centuries. Turin is famous all over the world for its fine Baroque architecture, for its refined cuisine, and for its elegant and cosmopolitan lifestyle. The city is also known for its production of chocolate, such as gianduiati, wine, and fine fabrics, which represent an important part of the local economy. Here you can taste the specialties of Piedmontese cuisine. After an aperitif based on vermouth, you can enjoy the famous agnolotti, mixed boiled meat, bagna cauda, and bunette. The Mole Antonelliana and the National Museum of Cinema are two must-see attractions for anyone visiting Turin. The Mole is the symbol of the city, and was designed by the architect Alessandro Antonelli in 1863. With its 167 meters of height, the Mole was the tallest masonry building in Europe at the time of its construction. It still dominates the Turin skyline. The Mole Antonelliana houses the National Museum of Cinema inside, one of the most important museums in the world, dedicated to cinema. The museum offers a comprehensive overview of the history of cinema, from its birth to the present day, with a vast collection of objects, costumes, sets, and film equipment. The museum offers an exhibition path that retraces the history, techniques, and emotions of cinema through a rich collection of artifacts, optical machines, posters, costumes, sets, and footage. The museum develops along the spectacular helical ramp that surrounds the large central void of the dome. You can access the panoramic elevator that goes up to 85 meters high and offers a breathtaking view of the city and the surrounding mountains. The Museo Egizio, Egyptian Museum, is the most important Egyptian museum in the world, after the one in Cairo. It houses about 6,500 artifacts, including statues, sarcophagi, and funerary objects, mummies, papyri, amulets, jewelry, and much more. The Egyptian Museum will take you on a journey through time to discover the history and mysteries of this ancient civilization. Among the main attractions of the Egyptian Museum are the statue of Ramses II, the sarcophagus of Ko, the famous papyrus of kings, or papyrus of Turin, and the objects from the tomb of Nefertari. Turin Cathedral is a cathedral dedicated to Saint John the Baptist, and is one of the main churches of the city, and one of the symbols of the Catholic faith in Piedmont. The cathedral was built at the end of the 15th century, and is the only religious building in the Renaissance style in the city. The Chapel of the Holy Shroud is an architectural work by the architect Guarino Guarini, and is connected to the cathedral by a suspended corridor. It houses a bulletproof case where the shroud is kept, which is the sheet that would have wrapped Jesus in his tomb. The shroud is exhibited to the public only on rare occasions, but you can still admire a faithful copy in the nave of the church. The shroud has been the subject of numerous scientific and historical investigations, but its origin and authenticity remain a matter of debate and controversy. The Chapel of the Holy Shroud was damaged by a fire in 1997, and was then restored and reopened in 2018. Valentino Park is one of the largest and most beautiful parks in Turin. It covers an area of over 400,000 square meters and offers an immersive experience in nature and history of the city. Inside you can find woods, gardens, meadows, and fountains, as well as some historical buildings. The medieval village is a real tourist attraction that will make you jump back in time. Here you can visit the Valentino Castle, a faithful reconstruction of a Savoy castle, with its rooms furnished with antique furniture, and the houses of craftsmen and merchants that reproduce the shops and dwellings typical of the time. Palazzo Madama and the Royal Palace of Turin overlook Piazza Castello and are World Heritage Sites. Palazzo Madama is an architectural and historical complex that stands on the remains of the ancient eastern gate of the Roman city of Augusta Taurinorum. This palace was transformed into a medieval castle, then into a Baroque residence, and finally into a neoclassical palace. Palazzo Madama houses the Civic Museum of Ancient Art inside, which preserves works of art from the Middle Ages to the 18th century. The Royal Palace was designed between the late 16th century and the early 17th century, but underwent numerous changes and extensions in the following centuries, under the guidance of famous architects, such as Filippo Uvara. The Santuario della Madonna Consolata is located in the heart of the historic center and has medieval origins, but has undergone several transformations over the centuries. Among others, Guarini and Uvara contributed to its construction. The church houses the votive chapel, with thousands of ex-votos, offered by the faithful as a sign of gratitude for the graces received. Piazza San Carlo, St. Charles Square, was built in the 17th century and quickly became a point of reference for the inhabitants of Turin. In the center of the square, there is an equestrian statue of Emanuele Filiberto di Savoia, called the Cavallard Bruns by the Turinese. The square covers an area of about 13,000 square meters. It is surrounded by elegant buildings in Baroque and Rococo style. Piazza San Carlo is an elegant and lively place, where you can stroll among the arcades, admire the shop windows, and stop in one of the many historic cafes that overlook the square. You could taste a famous beacherine, a drink made with coffee, chocolate, and milk cream. Piazza Vittorio Veneto is the largest square in Turin and one of the largest in Europe. This magnificent square is located in the eastern part of the city center. At the end of the square, you can admire the historic Ponte Vittorio Emanuele Bridge, which leads to the Church of the Gran Madre di Dio, Great Mother of God. Piazza Vittorio covers an area of 31,000 square meters and is surrounded by elegant buildings in neoclassical style. It is also a lively spot for nightlife, with many clubs, restaurants, cafes, and shops to choose from. The Church of the Gran Madre is a stunning example of neoclassical architecture, inspired by the Pantheon of Rome. It was built between 1818 and 1831. The church is dedicated to the Great Mother of God, the Virgin Mary, but it also hides some mysterious secrets related to the myth of the Holy Grail. On either side of the staircase that leads to the church, you can see two statues that represent religion and faith. Religion holds a cross in her hand, while faith holds an open book and a chalice in her lap. This chalice has sparked many speculations that it is Holy Grail. Some believe that Holy Grail was brought to Turin by the Templars, and that it is hidden under the church, or under the Ponte Vittorio Emanuele. Piazza Statuto is the westernmost square of the center of Turin, and hosts the monument to the fallen of the Frejus, erected to commemorate the workers who died during the construction of the railway tunnel between Italy and France. The square is also known for being one of the nerve centers of the so-called Magic Turin. Turin, in fact, would be one of the vertices of two magic triangles, that of white magic, together with Lyon and Prague, and that of black magic, together with London and San Francisco. These triangles would be connected by lines of energy that cross the city and that manifest themselves with symbols and monuments. The Basilica of Superga is located on top of the homonymous hill, at 672 meters above sea level, and offers an impressive view of the city. The church was built as a gratitude to the Virgin Mary, after the French were defeated in the siege of Turin in 1706. It is a Baroque masterpiece by Filippo Uvara, and houses inside the mausoleum of the Savoy, where many sovereigns and princes of the dynasty are buried. The basilica is also the site of the air tragedy of May 4, 1949, in which the players of one of the strongest teams in the history of football, the Grande Torino, lost their lives. The National Automobile Museum is one of the most interesting and modern museums in Turin. It focuses on the history and technique of the car, with a special attention to the role of Turin as the capital of the Italian automotive industry. The museum exhibits a collection of over 200 historic cars. Palazzo Carignano is a historic building that played a fundamental role in the history of the unification of Italy, also known as the Italian Risorgimento. It is considered one of the masterpieces of the Piedmontese Baroque. The palace was designed by the brilliant architect Guarino Guarini in the second half of the 17th century, on behalf of Emanuele Filiberto di Savoia. The palace hosted illustrious characters of Italian history, such as Carlo Alberto di Savoia, who was King of Sardinia and who promulgated the Statuto Albertino, the first Italian constitution. In this palace was also born the first King of Italy, after the national unity. The palace was also seat of the Subalpine Parliament, from 1848 to 1861, and of the first Parliament of the Kingdom of Italy, from 1861 to 1864. Here were held the historic sessions that led to proclamation of the Kingdom of Italy on March 17, 1861. The palace now houses the National Museum of the Italian Risorgimento, which tells the story of Italy's unity through documents, objects, paintings, and memorabilia. The hunting lodge of Stupinigi is a few kilometers from Turin. The palace was designed by architect Uvara, known for his Baroque style, as a place of leisure and hunting, and also as a residence of representation. The hunting lodge is characterized by its grandeur and magnificence, but also by the attention to details. The interiors are richly decorated with frescoes, statues, and sumptuous furnishings. The main hall is apotheosis of Baroque greatness, with high ceilings and elaborate decorations. The residence is surrounded by a vast English park, with woods, meadows, and ponds, where you can admire different animal species. Sestriere is one of the most famous and prestigious ski resorts in Italy and Europe. It is located at 2,035 meters above sea level, and has hosted numerous international ski competitions, including the World Championships in 1997 and the Winter Olympics in 2006. In addition to skiing, Sestriere also offers other attractions, such as an 18-hole golf course, among the highest in Europe. Bardonecchia is another ski resort, situated at 1,312 meters above sea level. Bardonecchia is famous for its snow park, one of the largest ones in Europe, where you can practice sports such as snowboarding, freestyle and free ride. The snow park hosted the snowboard competitions of the Winter Olympics in 2006. Pragelato is known especially for Nordic skiing, with 50 kilometers of cross-country trails that wind through woods and snowy meadows. The trails are suitable for both beginners and experts, and hosted the cross-country races of the Winter Olympics in 2006. These are some of the wonders that you can discover in Turin and its surroundings. Turin awaits you with its elegant and refined charm, with its majestic monuments, and its interesting museums, with its tasty cuisine, and its historic cafes. Turin is a city to live in every season and on every occasion that will surprise and conquer you. Thank you for following this video, and see you next time.